Good. So today we're with Vincent Horn from Buddhist Geeks. Welcome, Vincent. How are
Thank you.
you? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how did the Buddhist Geeks get started?
Yeah, so Buddhist Geeks, it got started in a coffee shop in Boulder when I was finishing up my undergrad at Naropa University, which, as many people know, this is one of the few Buddhist-inspired
That's right.
colleges. I used to call it the Harvard of Buddhist colleges.
Sure. I think it
And,
is.
it's hard to argue with that
Right.
point. But yeah, but I was there and talking to a friend, and we were sort of talking about how there were a lot of younger teachers, Gen Xers, or even teachers that have been around for a while that we really liked, but we didn't really see them being asked questions in other Buddhist media,
Mm,
other forms of media, like
mm,
the big magazines and stuff, that we were that interested in. Like, we didn't see them talking that much about technology or about next generational issues. We didn't really see. There's a certain kind of culture around some of those publications, which is really beautiful, but was sort of generationally off for us. So we were sort of just thinking, well, wouldn't it be cool if there was a podcast where those sorts of questions were being asked? And we looked for one, and we couldn't find it. We saw like a lot of podcasts that were like basically Dharma talks, people sharing Dharma talks.
mm.
And we decided, instead of complaining about it, which we had been doing, that we should maybe just try to do it ourselves. So from that moment of kind of conceiving it, then we started putting together our tech skills. My friend was an audio engineer. I had some background in computer engineering, and we had enough to create a simple podcast. And that's really how it started. We just started interviewing our favorite teachers, people that we really admired, and to our surprise, it really took off pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell me a little bit. You say you went to Naropa. I mean, who
Yes.
else have you studied with, and how did you come to Buddhism?
I came to Buddhism not through Buddhism, but through some strange experiences I was having in my freshman year in college
Mm,
that um, I really couldn't understand. And Buddhism seemed to be one of the few places that were even talking about experiences of going beyond the self or experiencing
mm,
vast compassion. And I had had some of those experiences just, I think, by accident.
mm.
And Buddhism seemed to be the only, not the only place, but one of the clearest places I could find that was talking about that stuff. So I started basically practicing, going on retreats in the insight meditation tradition
Mhm.
when I was a freshman. And pretty soon after that, dropped out of school to meditate more or less full time, and also wait tables, and which was a strange tension, and and then went on to transfer to Naropa, which was the only place I figured I could finish my degree and meditate a bunch. So
Sure.
that's kind of how I got into it. And I stuck with the insight tradition. Spent a lot of time practicing at IMS, the Insight Meditation Society, and then also at Spirit Rock Meditation Center with Jack Kornfield and Trudy Goodman, who are the kind of main people I studied with there. And then I had a number of other people I was, working with and influenced by. I kind of just went whoever I could get in touch with. I tried to learn from. Was essentially my approach.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So do you stick with Spirit Rock and the Inside Meditation, or have you branched out and tried some other things since then?
I one of the beauties of Naropa is that it's a fairly eclectic school already. So I was able to take classes on Zen Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism,
Mm,
contemplative Christianity, contemplative Islam, contemplative Hinduism, and all of the classes had practice elements.
mm,
Periods where, like in the Zen class, we had to go on a weekend sesshin, or in the Shambhala class, we did like an actual Shambhala training weekend. So I did get exposed through that to some other things, but my main sort of core practice was always in the Theravada tradition.
So, what do you think's the most unexpected thing that came out of Buddhist Geek? Something that happened or evolved from that you wouldn't have predicted when you started.
Yeah, good question. Well, the first I already mentioned is that people actually would have an interest in the stuff we were interested in. That was a huge surprise in the beginning.
Sure.
And then the other thing that's been more a development lately has been to see how much interest there now is in the fields of technology and business in some of the things that Buddhism's always been superb at, like mind training and meditation training. You mentioned before the call that you just been to the Wisdom 2.0 conference.
Okay.
That has been only in the last few years, like huge interest growing in that stuff. And Buddhist Geeks, because of the name Buddhist Geeks,
Yeah.
ended up sort of being at the cross section of some of that dialogue. So I've been really surprised to hear from, technologists, CEOs of major companies, people that are younger and interested in Buddhism or practicing meditation, who've contacted me and said, "Oh, I've been listening to Buddhist Geeks for a long time. It really fits in with my approach to how I do business." So that's been quite surprising to me, that there are that number of really influential people out there who are interested in the intersection of Buddhism and this sort of merging technological business stuff, which I know you have a background in yourself.
Oh yeah. But I've been going the other direction.
Yeah. You've been running away from the business.
What does it mean to be a Buddhist geek?
That's something I don't really know what it means. I mean, it's changed for me personally, and then I've seen other people's kind of understanding of what that means. But I think maybe the basic part of it is that there is an interest in marrying these different, seemingly at odds areas. On the one hand, contemplative practice or wisdom, and then on the other hand, the sort of interest and passion in technology, the sort of what's emerging, all tying back to the Western Enlightenment, I think, and the kind of some of the scientific breakthroughs that are happening there. The interest in seeing how these two relate or how they might come together, because Buddhism is, a pre-modern wisdom tradition, but it's in the modern world now, and there's a question of like, how do those things fit together, if at all, or do they fit? And I think Buddhist geeks assume that they can fit in some way, but then how that actually works seems to vary from Buddhist geek to Buddhist geek.
Yeah, sure.
Some Buddhist geeks are really about preserving the traditions and practicing them and using technology to help proliferate that. And then others are sort of on the more extreme end are saying, well, Buddhism is a transitionary structure, and we're going to learn how to kind of unlock all the secrets of it and be able to build technologies that essentially do what they do, what Buddhism was aimed at doing, but even better. Mm-hmm. And there's a real spectrum there, and how people relate to that.